Welcome, collectors and diecast enthusiasts. Thank you for joining me for another new edition of Diecast Emporium. Now, avid viewers of this channel may recall that some 7 years ago, I did review this John Deere Ertl 470 excavator. However, that video was less than 2 minutes long and far from conclusive, so what I have done is I have gone out and procured a new 470G. This one was produced last year in 2020, or really a couple years ago now in 2020. So it is not the same model that I reviewed 7 years ago, obviously, do the math. So let's see if this one has any improved functionality, maybe a little bit of detail, maybe it's the exact same thing. We won't know till we get into the review, which we will start now. As you can see, it comes in the standard Ertl Prestige Collection box. However, the new Prestige Collection box, or the Collector Series boxes by Ertl, usually have a plastic piece here which closes off the inside of the box. This one, as you can see, is wide open, leaving the model prone to dirt and dust, which we don't like to see. Prestige Collection Ertl, minimum age of 14 and up. You can see this is an adult collectible and the John Deere logo. Both side flaps of the box have pictures of the model model of the real machine, of course, and at the back there is a better picture of the real 470G at work. Bottom of the box has all your copyright information, including copyright 2020 at the top left. Here is your breakdown of the different series that Ertl does. Of course, this one is in the Prestige Collection, which they do 1/16th scale, 1/32 scale, and 1/50th scale, which is the scale that this excavator is in. So, thankfully, to save us all some time, I have already undone the 3 twist ties that hold this model to the base, and thankfully, in this case, they weren't tighter than a yoke pants on a Plus model, so thankfully, we don't have to deal with that. However, all of the other packaging elements are still intact, so in real time, we'll get to see how you unbox it. You do have to cut several tapes, as you can see, right here and right here. And you have this little tab that you need to pull out, so just be a little bit careful. All right. Now we can open up one end, pull the model straight out of the box. Here is our first look at it. Again, there's where the previous twist ties were. We can take it out now. You can see that the tracks are being protected by these plastic protectors that, in theory, are supposed to protect the tracks from separating because they are segmented tracks. Each of these links are individual. But in reality, what usually happens is oftentimes it will actually lead to damage on the model, particularly on these Ertl pieces, so I really wish Ertl would do away with it. Let's go ahead and separate this now from the model. We take the tape off, and we will pull apart these track protectors, quote-unquote track protectors. All right, with that out of the way, there is another piece of protection, which God only knows what this is designed to protect, but it is a single clear plastic band. We will take that off now, carefully. And finally, once you are done with this, you can finally, about time, right? You can finally display your 470 excavator. Okay, let's begin with some details and the decals on this model. By the way, this is part of John Deere's large series excavators, of which to date there are 3 models: the 470G, which is the smallest in the large-scale lineup, a 670G, and an 870G being the largest. So here is the 470G LC decal, very sharp and legible. There is a small John Deere decal on the side of the cab, and Deere on the side of the boom. The tracks themselves, as I said before, they are linked together and they look okay. Nothing really that great. Your hand and grab rails here, your stairs, these are plastic, and as you can see, I can move them and flex them with my hand, so they are a bit flimsy. The back of the counterweight has a crisp John Deere logo, which again looks pretty good. This side you have 470G and LC. You have painted vents, which again give the illusion that they are perforated and see-through, when in fact they are not, but at least if you can hear them, they are somewhat indented into the casting, so we'll give that an appropriate passing grade as well. These handrails, again, just like on the other side, are plastic, but at least they are somewhat thin. Not on the somewhat thin side is this mirror, which appears to be somewhat oversized. You have an air cleaner and an exhaust on top of your machine. You have anti-slip tread patterning on the top. Here is your engine cover. Also, you have lines going up your boom and a couple hydraulic lines leading down to your stick. As is par for the course on most Ertl models, even in their Prestige collection, you have unsightly rivets all throughout, but they have tried to disguise it to the best of their ability by at least painting them on the boom and stick. However, the rivets are not painted when you get down to the bucket. Let's take a look at the detail underneath the machine now. As you can see here, there's a better look at the tracks and the bolt detailing on each of the segments. Turning it around to this side, you can see the copyright information, John Deere licensed product, 45335, copyright 2020, and some other information that's really not that important. All right, let's turn our attention now to functionality. So in the real world, this machine has a net power of 367 horsepower and a total operating weight of 112,916 pounds. So again, for a large excavator, it is on the smaller end of things. So let's start out with the track functionality. You can move them by hand. Of course, they won't roll very well on a smooth surface such as the review area. You can see that there's no working rollers underneath or on top, and the tracks tend to sag quite a bit. All right, moving on to the boom and stick. You can lift it up to about here without forcing anything. So that allows us to rotate the machine 360 degrees, which it does flawlessly. Back to the boom and stick. Let's raise everything out as far as it will go. Mine will only go out to here, and you can see that there's quite a bit of cylinder still exposed, so we do want to see a little bit more improvement there. It's a shame that this seems to be about the same functionality that my 470 had some 7 or 8 years ago, and that they have still not rectified the amount of cylinder that is still showing when this should fully retract into the cylinder jacket. Okay, how about the digging depth? You can go down to about here once again, without forcing anything too terribly much. And unfortunately, as the camera likes to go out of focus, there we go. As you can see, once again, you have plenty of cylinder still visible, and perhaps not an accurate representation, even to scale, of how far this machine can dig down. We have one other pose that we would like to show, and that is the machine fully retracted in for a transport mode. So let's bring our bucket in, which again, bucket will only go into here. Curl our stick in, move our boom down, and at least if you wanted to pose the machine on a lowboy, it should at least sit flush on the deck. So let's bring in that said lowboy so you can get a good look at what that would look like. Here is a Western Star 49X tractor with a XL 120HDG specialized lowboy trailer. To note, this trailer is in the outrigger extended position for a tracked machine like an excavator, so let's put him on here and see what it looks like. We've already got him in the transport mode, so it's just a matter of placing him on the deck. And there you go. If you wanted to pose him on a lowboy trailer, you can certainly do that, and it makes quite an interesting looking load for your desktop or your display cabinet. Before we end the video, let's pose the excavator loading a dump truck, which we will once again bring in a different Western Star. In this case, it's a Western Star dump truck, again by Diecast Masters. We will extend our excavator boom and stick back out, open up our bucket, and there you go. You can achieve a somewhat realistic pose, again with the cylinders being a little on the jerky side one way or another. That will conclude my latest review of the 1/50th scale Ertl John Deere 470G LC excavator in 1/50 scale. I hope you have found this review helpful and somewhat entertaining. Several of you have reached out to me over the years about filming a new review on the 470, so I hope that this has helped make up your mind one way or another. Last bit of information I want to tell you before we end the video. If you are into John Deere excavators, there is one big thing to look forward to later on this year, and that is that Ertl, in their Prestige collection, plan to release an 870G LC excavator in 1/50th scale, so make sure that you get your pre-orders in at your dealer of choice. I'm Tommy with Diecast Emporium. Thank you all so very much for watching. Until next time, take care, be safe. I'll see you in the next review.